I didn't see this commitment coming. And if we're being honest, neither did you. It came out of nowhere.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Colkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC, which is part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you are watching this show on YouTube, you know you can download this podcast anywhere, and it's going to be free. Something else you should also know, I'm always going to appreciate your support. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers, you can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. If you follow USC recruiting, you probably knew the name Sean Scott, the edge linebacker from Notre Dame. If you watch or listen to this show, you definitely knew who Sean Scott was because I've been, predicting his commitment to USC for a while now. Sean committed to USC on Mother's Day. Okay. One day later, USC received its 28th commitment and their second linebacker in as many days. Out of the blue, on a Monday, the Trojans landed another linebacker for the 2026 class. His name is Taylor Johnson. Yeah, first time I ever heard his name was on Monday. Actually, I did glean his name. USC made an offer to him last week. That's how quickly this thing came about. He's 6'2", 205 pounds per his announcement on social media. Again, I had no idea who Taylor Johnson was before last week. Last week is when Rob Ryan was out on the road making in-school visits, saw Taylor Johnson, talked to him, said, hey, here's an offer. That's how quickly this thing turned around. Less than a week after, seeing Coach Rob, getting that offer, he's pledging his allegiance to USC's football 2026 recruiting class. So where's he from? He's a local kid. He plays for Cajon High School in San Bernardino. You're thinking, that name sounds familiar. It should. It's the same school that produced Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels. Taylor is, look, if you're looking for his ranking, you're not going to find it. Not unless you follow Rivals, who they have him as a 3-star. He's pretty much unranked, underrated, very underrated if you're looking at his film. So Rivals has him as a 3-star. Other 3 networks, On3, 247, ESPN, unranked right now. Okay. Before the junior picked up the scholarship offer from USC last week, he actually started to accumulate a nice offer list. He had offers from schools like Arizona, Oregon State, UNLV, Cal, Boston College, San Diego State, Washington State, West Virginia, New Mexico, San Jose State, Fresno State. Look, all of those offers happened between January and March. So he was really picking up some momentum with his recruitment. And that's, if that list of schools I gave, that's a nice mix from across the country. Well, as I mentioned, the staff is on the road, and Coach Ryan likes the player. He likes what he saw. If you watch his film, you're going to see a really productive middle linebacker. That's where USC's recruiting him, linebacker. He's going into a senior season in 2025 as a junior. Taylor padded his stat sheet. Check out these numbers. 174 total tackles, including 9 for a loss. And almost half of those tackles he was involved with, he did them by himself. Almost half, 82. He also finished with 4 sacks, 3 pass deflections, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, and he stacked that on top of his sophomore season in high school, where he had 70 tackles, 10 for loss, 3 sacks. So if you look at the way those numbers project his senior year, he's going to have somewhere like 5,000 tackles. A little bit of hyperbole, but you can see he looks to be a pretty productive player when he's on the field. You're saying, well, why isn't he ranked? I think his size might be one of the reasons and I'm using finger quotes, unranked. The height really isn't an issue. 6'2", no big deal. the weight might be 205 pounds. USC likes him as a linebacker, but he's kind of built more like a safety right now. Doesn't mean he can't add more weight. I mean, your body physically matures at what, 25, 26, 27 years old? Who's to say he can't add 30 more pounds easily? So again, regardless of his height or his weight, his size really isn't an issue. Young man, he's a thumper. He likes to bring the contact. He will bring a can of whoop ass to you. I watched this film. I like it. Looks good. First thing that you notice, or at least first thing I noticed, he's a speedster. The guy makes up a lot of ground, takes good angles, gets from point A to point B like that. Very instinctual. As I mentioned, he can bring the heat. He will hit you hard. You'll feel it. You'll remember it. Very physical player for someone his size. The way USC is loading up with linebackers, again, out of the blue, Taylor Johnson. I kind of get the feeling, Coach Lynn, he wants to use more three-man sets in that group, especially in the big conference. I don't know how much you'll see of it this year. They've got the numbers where they can do it, but the way they're adding linebackers to the class, remember, you got Xavier Griffin, Sean Scott, Taylor Johnson. We know Talanoa Ely's still hanging out there. And we know USC feels really like they're in a really good spot for his commitment. I'll take it, right? So USC now has 28 commitments. They got 3 linebackers. Waiting for that 4th. Will that be the last one? Like I mentioned, 28 commitments so far. I know that target number is right around 35. So I'll tell you what, if this was a game of musical chairs, there might be more recruits out there that USC wants than chairs available. I think this is going to be really interesting to watch down the stretch with, especially with the official visits starting in June. You got the tight ends out there, Mark Bowman, Luke Sorensen. You got right O-lines at quarterback. You got offensive linemen like Malachi Lee and Samuel Utu. You got Brandon Arrington down in San Diego. Again, a lot of names out there. USC wants to bring in at least 2, maybe 3 more defensive linemen. If anything, Taylor Johnson scooped up his spot. And as I said on yesterday's episode, you're either in or you're out. If you're making a commitment, no more visits. USC is definitely the big name on his offer sheet. But who knows? The way his recruiting momentum has picked up. What happens if Georgia comes a calling? Alabama, LSU, Ohio State. Right now, USC's in the driver's seat. They have his commitment. And you got to feel good about it. Again, out of the blue, out of nowhere. I had no idea who this young man was. But that's the way USC's recruiting right now. They're recruiting, they're recruiting culture. And this guy looks like he's a good, not even so much a developmental guy, but he's someone who is going to be hanging around for 3 to 4 years. If he's good enough, maybe 3 years and he's gone. But this is the type of player USC's looking for. He fits their group really well. All right, we got 2 more segments to go here. I need someone to make it sense for me. Really, another top 25 poll came out from our good friend Ari Wasserman over there at On3. Yeah, I need someone to make sense. And 5 months advance notice. You have plenty of time. I'll tell you all about that in the 3rd segment. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and plenty of can't-miss moments. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, the fans, you now have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Which players are showing up in the biggest moments? We know it's not LeBron James, that's for sure. His season's over. And how could tracking those trends help you build your next bet? Well, if you've got a read on who's heating up, why not back it up with a same game parlay? How would $200 in bonus bet sound? How would that sound? Right? Add that to the excitement if your first $5 bet wins. That's all it'll do. Bet $5 win, you get $200 in bonus bets. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet. If it wins, yep, $200 bonus bets in your account, just like that. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. So the way too early preseason top 25 polls keep coming out, and yep, USC missed the cut again. I need someone to make sense of it for me because I'm trying to follow along. I'm trying to understand the rationale that's being used. You know, you get these blurbs of why this team is ranked at this spot, and none of it makes any sense. I'm sitting there going, yeah, I don't get it. Talk to me like I'm a 4-year-old. Use crayons. Color the picture because what you're saying doesn't make any sense. So let me break it down. Tell me, I think I figured it out. I think I know why USC's not showing up in these top 25 polls, preseason polls. USC has gotten better across the board with regards to its roster. I think everybody would agree with that. There's not one position group on that roster that is not better than it was last year, except for maybe one. Now, you're saying, well, cornerback, Mark, that's one spot. Okay. They are young for the most part. Yes, absolutely. But they're uber talented. They addressed it a little bit. They brought in DJ Harvey out of the transfer portal. And that concern about the cornerbacks should at least partially, I think, be eased with the safety room. You know, that room is good. It's talented, experienced. It's led by Kamari Ramsey. You got Bishop Fitzgerald, the transfer from North Carolina State. You got Christian Pierce. Don't get me started about the linebackers. We talked about in the first segment, USC's recruiting like their linebacker you again. Linebackers in 2025. You got Eric Gentry, Desmond Stevens, Jaden Walker, Anthony Beavers Jr. You brought in the transfer from Penn State, Tamir Robinson. And those guys are playing behind a defensive line room that I'll tell you what, I'll compare to anyone else's in the big conference. Anyone else's. And I'll say USC is right there with them. Last year, USC's defense, it only allowed 24 points per game. Even less than that when we take into consideration all those pick sixes that, USC's quarterbacks were throwing. You remove that from the equation, USC's defense gave up 21 points per game. That is the only stat on that side of the ball that matters. That's the only one that I care about. I don't care about how many yards they gave up, any of that stuff. They were only giving up 24 points per game. And I want the listeners and the viewers of this episode, I want you to keep that in mind when everyone is trying to, look for that weak link on the roster. Why is USC not being ranked preseason? Because right now, I'm kind of leading a horse to water right now. It's up to you if you're going to take a drink. So just walk with me for a bit, okay? I just broke down the defense. I don't think that's what's keeping USC out of the preseason top 25. So let's do a vote of hands. Show of hands. Play along. Pretend you're in studio with me. Does USC lack playmakers on offense in 2025? Did they lack them in 2024? Or did the ones they have, did they underachieve? Zachariah Branch, Deuce Robinson, just to name a couple. I don't see anyone raising their hand saying, yeah, USC lacked playmakers. We know that wasn't the case. Did USC run the ball pretty well in 2024? That was rhetorical. Don't raise your hand because the answer is yes. Of course they did. Just remind everybody, Woody Marks was the first 1,000-yard rusher for USC since forever, 2017 with Ronald Jones. And Woody probably would have been closer to 1,500 yards or more if he didn't have to miss some time with injury and maybe with some better play calling, situational play calling. So taking all that in consideration, because you obviously need a solid offensive line in order to run the ball. What position would you say is the weakest link for Lincoln Riley in 2025? Is the reason why USC is unranked by so many know-it-alls because no one has any confidence in the quarterback situation? A Lincoln Riley team. Is that where the issue lies? I mean, what else could it be? You've got offensive playmakers. The offensive line going to be solid. I know that you want to make sure that John Ray Reed or Killian O'Connor can handle center, and DJ Wingfield is the guy at left guard. You're returning 3 starters: Elijah Page at left tackle, Tobias Raymond right tackle, Alani Noah going to his 3rd year starting at right guard. So what else could it be? I think we're at the quarterbacks. Because I think everyone agrees. The defense in year 2 with Danton Lynn in a deeper roster, it's going to improve on allowing 24 points per game. Really, 21 points per game. The Trojans arguably have the best wide receiver duo in the conference, even though the Buckeyes would probably say, hey, hold our beer. But you get my point. The running game could be even better this year than last year. I mean, that's how high the staff is on Waymon Jordan, Brian Jackson, and Eli Sanders. So is it the quarterback situation? What else could it be? What's holding this team back from being ranked preseason? Does Jaden Mayava have to prove the doubters wrong? Is that what it's going to come down to? Or is it more on Lincoln Riley after back-to-back mediocre seasons? Are people just non-believers in Coach Riley now? For me, it just feels odd that no one sees USC's program as a top 25 preseason, let alone top 30. And yet you have guys like Ari Wasserman from On3. Let me give you a couple examples of the rationale, how he has teams ranked. Here's one ranked as high as number 15. I'm going to read his blurb. Auburn lost a bunch of games last season that could be boiled down to incompetent quarterback play. So Coach Hugh Freeze wasn't taking any risks. It brought in transfers Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma, Ashton Daniels, Stanford, and signed big-time freshman Deuce Knight. Arnold is expected to start, but Freeze has options. Oh, and whoever wins the quarterback job will be throwing to Cam Coleman and Georgia Tech transfer Eric Singleton. Auburn played tough and hung in the SEC last year. If it fixes its offense, the Tigers could be much better than people think. That was his number 15th ranked team in the preseason. So according to Ari Wasserman, you bring in a new signal caller 3 times, and the woes are fixed at that position, right? What kind of rationale is that? Did USC not hang tough in the big conference last year? Take number 1 Penn State into overtime? Play with Notre Dame up until a couple of pick sixes? Was Sam Heward the quarterback that USC brought in during the offseason? Was he not a 5-star coming out of high school? Yet you've got Auburn at number 15. Did USC not play tough in all their games last year? Again, make it make sense. Let's take his number 18 team. Michigan. This is Ari Wasserman. There's no nice way to say it. Michigan's offense was downright terrible a year ago. And even so, the Wolverines were competitive in every game and even beat Ohio State before the Buckeyes rolled to the national championship. Michigan also signed 5-star quarterback Bryce Underwood, who I believe will wind up starting the season. If Michigan can have a halfway decent offense this year, the Wolverines should be a tough out every week in the Big Ten. Okay. Look, if Maava isn't the guy, then why isn't USC's 5-star recruit Husan Longstreet? Explain that one to me. Bryce Underwood is, Husan isn't. Husan has Lincoln O'Reilly coaching him, as well as Luke Heward. Name Michigan's offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. Sure, he's qualified. Better than Lincoln O'Reilly, though? Probably not. I don't know. Maybe if USC has a halfway decent offense, because remember, that's all it takes, halfway decent offense. Especially if you're going to have a defense that's giving up less than 24 points per game. Here's an even better one. This one's probably going to make you go, whatever. How about number 22, Louisville? Louisville got USC transfer quarterback Miller Moss in the portal, and now the Cardinals are putting a lot on his shoulders. That happened last year at USC. Moss does join a team with one of the best running backs in the country in Isaac Brown, and the Cardinals are leaky, but Jeff Brom has proven to always get the most out of his roster. This roster is good enough to be a problem in the ACC if things come together. All right. If those are the reasons why schools are ranked, then yes, absolutely, without a doubt, unequivocally, USC is one of the top 25 programs in the country in 2025. Don't tell me they're not. They are. Excuse me. I mean, I just gave you 3 examples and the rationale behind it. And then you want to compare that to USC situation going, okay, why aren't they the 22nd best team in the country preseason? 18th, 15th. Someone make it make sense for me, because I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to follow along, Ari. It doesn't make sense. Open invitation. You can come on this show. I would love to have you. Let's debate this topic. You bring your side. I'll bring my side, which is probably a little bit closer to the situation. Let's see if I can convince you. I'd love to have it happen. If anybody's out there watching, tell Ari I'd love to have him on the show. All right. We got one more segment to go. And it's an important segment, so stick around. Yeah, money time. You got to check your bank account. You got to figure it out. Otherwise, go to monarchmoney.com. That's where they come in. It's like having your own, I don't know, chief financial officer. It's going to give you full visibility, and it's going to take control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending, and you can do it all in one place, so you can stop managing money, start building some wealth, and you're going to love the all-in-one convenience. You don't have to have multiple apps to do all of this. Instead of juggling all those different apps, do it at Monarch Money. And that way you can track your finances, track your spending, start planning some long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Kickoff time is set for the USC game in South Bend. I told you it was important. Yeah. Did you know 2025? It's the 20th anniversary of the Bush Push game. 20 years ago, 2005. That's when it happened. So, of course, Notre Dame wants to schedule this game to be kicked off 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Heavy sigh. So far, this is the only game on the schedule with an official start time. That's it. USC's 7th game of the season, October 18th, will kick off at 4:30 on the West Coast, 7:30 in South Bend, Indiana. This is going to sound a little bit like a rant, but I hate late kickoffs, especially on the East Coast. Look, I'd be more okay if I was watching this game in the stands as a fan, but I'll be in the press box, and late starts means late work days, and it makes me worthless on Sunday. I mean, absolutely worthless. The earliest I'm going to get out of the stadium, leave South Bend, Indiana, midnight. That's, by the time the game is done, post-game interviews, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, midnight would be the earliest. And then you have the almost 2-hour drive back to Chicago. So not only does it make for a long workday, and if they lose, an angry one at that, then I have to take into consideration, you know what, Mark? Since at least you know what time it's kicking off, stay an extra night. It now becomes a little bit more expensive of a road trip because I got to stay that extra night, get some sleep on Sunday, come back ready to rock and roll the week after. Like I said, I know it sounds like I'm whining. However, if this is going to be the last trip to South Bend for the foreseeable future, remember, contract ends 2026. USC plays at Notre Dame this year. Notre Dame travels to LA in 2026. And that's it for right now. But it is the 20th anniversary, as I mentioned. So why can't we have one of those old-fashioned start times? Right? Why not kick off at 2:30 for old time's sake? USC kicked off at 2:40 when the Bush push happened in 2005. So let's go back to old school. Early mid-afternoon start in South Bend. Game ends in the evening. Everybody's happy. No one's leaving Indiana at midnight, driving back to Chicago. Look, I want to be wrong. I really do. But until I hear some positive news that this rivalry is being renewed past 2026, it's this year and next year. Those are the last two games of the series. Heaven forbid. So you're saying, well, why am I bringing this up again? Because it's the only game on the schedule with a start time right now. That alone, just that alone should tell you how significant this rivalry is. You literally have 5 months advance notice so you don't make any plans. So tell all of your marriage-eligible friends, not that weekend. Yeah, it happens all the time. Send out a memo, send out an email, find your contact list, and you let everybody, your friends, extended family, whomever, I am not available the weekend of October 18th. Sorry. I gave you 5 months advance notice. So the Notre Dame game is scheduled October 18th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. Game one, still to be determined. So is the return of the Helton for game two. Return of the Helton. It's got a certain scary sound to it. It's almost like a Star Wars movie. Heck, even the Big Ten Conference Championship game doesn't have a kickoff time associated with it yet. USC versus Notre Dame carries weight. It's a national rivalry. It's significant. That's why they wanted everybody to know. NBC's ready to place this game on TV, 4:30 p.m. on the West Coast, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 Central. Know where you're going to be so you can watch the greatest intersectional rivalry known to college football mankind. USC versus Notre Dame. All right. Mark your calendar. Let everybody know. I know where I'm going to be. Where are you going to be? I know where I'm going to be tomorrow. I'm going to be right back here with another episode of Locked On USC. And then when I'm done on Locked On USC, you're going to follow me over there to wearesc.com. Take advantage of that $1 subscription special we got going. That's some really good written content. Really good stuff. So until that next episode, everyone, you know what to do.